morning and welcome to Turbold. I'll just get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story.
For sure. So my name is Turbold, and I'm from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, which is the capital city of Mongolia. And I hold a Bachelor of Business Administration degree with a finance specialization. I'm actually currently full-time employed, but I do freelancing after work or sometimes before work.
So I was wondering if you could tell us, Turbold, a little bit about the state of the nation. So in Mongolia, can you tell us a little bit about what are the impediments to doing business, and do you have natural disasters, and what sorts of issues might come about if I was going to employ you?
I think the biggest impediment would be the political instability, because the cabinet lasts an average of just over 1 year. So the parliament is like voting to pull down the cabinet every year, and that really hinders business development, and especially it really creates a political instability that leads to foreign investors try to shy away from Mongolia. For natural disaster-wise, I would think the biggest disaster we have is like the sandstorms we have in the southern desert region. So natural disaster-wise, we're not, as extreme. We don't have like seasonal hurricanes or anything, nor earthquakes or anything.
Do you know off the top of your head the US dollar to Turgrit, did you say?
Yeah, Turgrit. $1 equals 2,650 Mongolian Turgrits.
Okay, so and what's a can of Coke going to cost me?
Can of Coke would cost you 1,500, so 60 cents, 60 US dollar cents.
Yeah, okay. And then let's take us down the employment situation. What's the employment situation like in Mongolia?
Well, one unique thing about Mongolia is that we have a lot of herders in the countryside, which they're like, their full-time job is to just herd their animals. So when the State Statistics Bureau is taking unemployment statistics, they kind of leave these herders out of the population.
Yeah.
Because they're not like legally employed, but like they do labor and they contribute to the economy. So, but they take them out. And as for legally employed people, so taking the herders out of the equation, we have about like 9 to 11% unemployment rate. But we do have a really high youth unemployment rate, because most of the employers shy away from hiring students and young people in general, because first of all, students don't really commit to their work. And second of all, Mongolian students are just really sloppy in general. They kind of tend to miss work, be late, just be sloppy in general.
So can you give us a sense of what sort of access to internet, what is the access to internet like?
We have both broadband and satellite connection. The internet speed is pretty good. I think the average speed we get is like 10 megabits per second. So video call, conference call, everything is just comfortably goes through the internet connection. Most of the people have mobile data connection on their mobile phones. We have Wi-Fi's everywhere, coffee shops, big buildings, offices, Wi-Fi connections everywhere. And most of the country is connected through 4G or LTE. So most people have high-speed internet connections on their phones.
Motivation behind being a freelancer? Why are you doing this?
My main motivation would be extra income. We can tie it to the wages offered here in the Mongolian market. So as for myself, converted to Australian dollars, I earn about 12,000 Australian dollars a year. The average salary in Mongolia, however, is around 7,000 Australian dollars a year. Even though I earn like a little more than average salary, that still is like compared to international standards is very low, especially compared to Western countries, United States, Australia per se. So my main motivation to do freelancing outside of work is extra income. Sometimes I'll get gigs that are worth like $100, $150, and I don't really take it. I don't really like push it. I do generally like 1 or 2 jobs a week, and that adds a pretty good amount of income to my main job. So my main motivation is extra income.
Okay, so can we just take that a little bit further? Can you give us a bit of an overview of what wages are like by profession? So, a lot of the guys that will be in the class will be probably not employing people at the high end like yourself. They'll probably be employing people to do simpler jobs.
Right.
Can you give us a sort of sense of what, somebody that was doing maybe some internet-based data entry or that type of thing, what sort of money do you imagine that they would be making?
I think they would be making slightly below average, so I would say 5,000 to 6,000 Australian dollars a year. And from what I've observed, a lot of people do full-time freelancing uh, because they're unemployed, so they just resort to freelancing for the full-time. For these people, I don't know what their income is, but if they're on the freelancer or like Upwork or other freelancing platforms on the internet, I think they would, I imagine they would earn more than average, I would say.
Yeah, because they're getting paid in US dollars too. Would that be?
Yeah, that would be a big factor.
Yeah, and that would also make these types of platforms quite attractive. Is that
Very
a fair
attractive.
statement?
Yeah, very attractive.
Yeah.
Because generally the Tugrik is very weak, and I think people would make a comfortable living out of 500 to 600 US dollars per month here in Mongolia.
Yeah, okay. So it's attractive for them, and it's also attractive for us because we get the advantage of currency
Yep.
change. Yeah, okay. Um, so again, let's take that a little bit further. So what makes Freelancer your platform form of choice, and would you use another platform, and why would you use another platform?
Very good question. I chose freelancer solely because there are less commitments. Most of the jobs posted on freelancer are like short-term projects. It would usually take up to a week at most for the projects I take. So because I'm full-time employed, I'm not able to work for somebody at an hourly rate. So I just take one-time projects or a short-term projects and do them outside of work. And I have also registered for 2 other platforms. One of them was Upwork, but Upwork is more like a high-end platform, and they're really looking for freelancers who commit long time. So I'm not actually into long-term freelancing. I like what I do now, just take up short-term works and work on them. So I canceled my Upwork subscription.
Would you consider being employed direct if we were able to offer you short term, if we were able to fit in with the type of work that you wanted, would you consider going direct?
Direct would be actually nice because when you're doing short, like really short-term one-time projects for people, it's sometimes hard to bid on a project and win them. So there would be like discrepancies. I would sometimes go projectless for like 2 or 3 weeks straight, and then I would win like 2 bid in one week and just be really, really busy that week. So I think it would be great if somebody would commit short-term.
Okay, so can I just take that a little bit further? So if I was going to employ you direct, how am I going to pay you?
That's one of the challenges. I withdraw money from a freelancer through my PayPal account,
Yeah,
but the way that's one of the reasons why people prefer having platforms, so that the platform will hold the money for you, so that they would release it after both parties say the job is done. But when you're hired directly, I mean, there has to be some sort of contract or at least build a trust first, right?
yeah.
So I think the main issue would be how would the payment be settled? Would it be like 50% upfront or 50% on completion, or like there has to be some sort of way worked through to facilitate the payment. I think a lot of disputes rise from the payment part, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So that to me is where you can get yourself into a lot of hot water. And one of the things that I want to highlight to the guys that I'm talking to is there basically is no recourse. So the research that I've done into the platforms indicates to me that whilst they do have dispute resolution processes in place, they're pretty weak. I mean, if you and I can't come to an agreement, I'm not going to chase you in Mongolia, and you're unlikely to chase me in Australia.
Right.
And so, where does that leave us? And to me, that's one of the biggest issues. How do you manage, from both parties, how do you manage that risk? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is true. That is why there are many scams that arise from these situations. There are scams from both parties, both the freelancers and the employers. Some of the common scams are like work from home schemes, fake postings, fake projects. Also, pay to work scams where freelancers ask money up front and then don't do the work. Also, I've noticed there have been some cases of pyramid schemes and multi-layered marketing schemes that were posted on some of the platforms. Also, and now this is very unusual, but this is something to keep in mind. Sometimes when you upload a file as a completed work, right? Sometimes people would install a malware, like some sort of viruses on them, so that they would infect the project poster's computer with malwares and ransomwares, phishingwares, all sorts of stuff. So that's one of the issues. Also, some people try to settle off the platform payments, which brings us back to our main topic, right? There's always dispute when money is involved.
Yeah. So what do you think a good advert from our end looks like?
So first of all, you would look at the reviews of the employer. Their ratings, right? Star ratings. Obviously, you would want to be a high 4 or maybe mid 4, sometimes low 4. But usually when freelancers are looking for the employer, they read their reviews, look at the star scores. So first you got to have a good review. Second of all, you have to, on the project posting, right, you have to have a clear communication of what is expected and the volume of the work. Because sometimes when I'm trying to bid for works, the volume of the work is not stated. So I'm not sure like how many days should I include on my bid. So I always kind of tend to clarify what is the volume of the work here. So just have like a clear and concise piece of text for what you expect from freelancers, and generally have a good review and no history of like payment disputes or stuff of that sort.
So one of the things that I noticed, Turbold, when I selected you was that you'd actually read my post and were responding to the post, where what I notice quite often is you get quite a spammy response from freelancers. Can you tell us a bit about that? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so most of the time I noticed that there are some freelancers who kind of have like the saved project bid. So they would just like copy and paste their project bid for every project they see. Um, as for myself, I don't pay for extra bids, so I have to make every bid count. So I read through them and really like write my proposal accordingly. There are some, as you've noticed, most of the freelancers are either Chinese or Indian. Some of them are full-time and some of them are part-time. I'm not sure. But most of the time what they do is that they pay the platforms to buy like unlimited or more bids. So they would just like bid on every project they see.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't pay premium for extra bids because I really don't need that much bids. So I I sort my projects, right? I only bid to a project I really like, that I really want to. So I read it through and write a customized
Yeah.
proposal for every project.
And that really shows. Like I said, I just looked at yours and went, your response was, there was probably two people that responded really well, and yours was one of them. And so from my perspective, I think that's a pretty good strategy, because it comes obvious pretty quickly, the people that are just spamming you. After you've done a few, from an employer's perspective,
Yeah.
after you've done a few, it becomes pretty obvious. And so just to take that a little bit further, what do you think makes a good employer?
If we're speaking in a strictly freelancing sense, just clear communication is like the number one thing. What is expected? What are the milestones? When is the deadline? What is the volume? And sometimes some people would just, make you download your file and just leave you alone. It would be nice if they, stick along for like 5 or 10 minutes just to show us what we're going to do, because most of the times what employers want is just some stuff to be done, right? From their part, it might look like simple and easy, but from our part, we could be like on the other side of the world, and we don't know anything what your company does. So in order for us to deliver better, you have to give us like some kind of background information on what your company does, or what's like the big picture related to this work, right? So that we can like tailor it to fit that big picture.
That sounds good. Okay, so can you just do a bit of an ad for yourself? Just tell us what sort of work you're interested in, and where we can get in contact with you.
I do all sorts of data analysis, data visualizations. Most English copywriting and English proofreading could be done. I just do mostly data stuff. So if you have like a messy data, I can clean them up for you. I'm pretty skilled on Microsoft Excel. And what I see sometimes, most of the times, is that people have data on a PDF file or like a Microsoft document file that they need converted to Microsoft Excel file in a pretty neat spreadsheet. So that's what I've been doing like most of the time. I'm always reachable on my freelancer.com profile. I think that would be the best way to contact me. But if you really think somebody can really employ me, I believe you can give them my Skype information.
Yep. And what's your freelancer contact? Do you know what that is?
My handle is at @gturbold.
Yeah. Turbold spelled Turbold.
That's right.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks very much. And I'll let you get on with the rest of your day.
You're
Have
welcome.
a good day.
Have a good day. You too. Thank you.